Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LCS Academy Spring Split. And this time we got a new matchup ahead of us, and it's going to be a spicy one, Coco. Golden Guardians versus TSM, two teams that are in sixth place tie.
Yeah, and it's again, it feels terrible reiterating it time and time again because about how many ties we have, and then we keep making more ties. I honestly should probably be wearing a tie because of how many things are happening with that. Yeah, maybe we'll get ties after this game, because if we do, then we're gonna have to have more to address. But with TSM Academy going into this game, they're a team that I've been questioning with some macro decisions and mostly as a team cohesion. It's kind of the polar opposite of 100 Thieves Academy, where a lot of the questions for me was around promising developments. TSM Academy is more around these sort of underwhelming and worrying trends that have been happening, specifically focused around Babip and Sword, their two newest additions to the Academy team.
I mean, results speak louder than anything, and it's something they're not really getting. In these last 2 weeks, they've only picked up one win, and that was against CLG Academy. We've already talked about how they're in the back of the standings, but that's FlyQuest going through them. It's Team Liquid going through them. They're struggling to get results.
Yeah, but yeah, like you mentioned, the FlyQuest and Team Liquid, two teams that have been very strong in the early stages of the Academy Spring Split. So you could make the argument that they had a very strong set of schedule going into the early phases of the split, where on the back end, you're going up against currently Golden Guardians, who's at the same position and has been having just as many questions popping up as you. But with that being said, we have to look around the trust each of these players has. Babip has shown some confidence here or there. He's a very aggressive jungler, but he is very lane dependent. He needs to have that confidence from the rest of his team for him to make those plays, to make those overextensions to where he can really be that high risk, high reward jungler that we know and love.
Yeah, and that's what we're kind of hoping to see, because we do have veterans on this roster as well when it comes to TSM Academy. Both Hanser and Cody-san have been playing for so long. I mean, Hanser, former champion with TSM, now on TSM Academy trying to fight his way back in. But that experience needs to be transferred over to Babip, to Sword, and to Fizzy, of course. And, you know, eventually get everyone else onto that competitive level.
Yeah, and as much as Sword is promising in his own right in the mid lane, he's been very flexible in his picks. He's picked the Zoes, the Lucians, and the Oriannas themselves. So he is a very well-diverse mid laner, but it's sort of the same story with how Babip is interacting with these laners, with the veterans specifically, as you mentioned, where if you don't have trust in those veteran voices, in these experienced players of Hanser and Cody-san, what experience or what information are you able to draw from to help get you either out of a deficit, or sort of into a more advantageous position when you do get that 2k 3k gold lead? How do you make it a 5k gold lead? And that's where that real mistrust, or at least that miscommunication per se, could be really exploited when they face Golden Guardians Academy today.
I mean, and speaking of bringing in up-and-comers, I mean, we're talking about Golden Guardians. They've been playing in the amateur scene quite a bit as well, and some surprising results to come through, Coco.
Yeah, mixed results. For the viewers that do not keep a close eye on the amateur scene, Golden Guardians Academy is currently 1 win, 1 loss in the Challengers Uprising tournament, and they did lose out to Solafide, which is a roster of Zazel and Tuesday, and like I don't think I need to say anymore. Like, just those two names on their own are just ridiculous in their own right. So it's ex-LCS veterans, and it's something where for them, you know, not too bad of a loss to deal with. But into the academy scene, you kind of give some free information for TSM to study up on. How well has Rosethorn been able to improve as a jungler himself, and not just the academy split, but in this previous cup tournament as well? How well was Tally able to interact with more low ranking or less experienced top laners, and specifically going into this bottom side of Prismal and Chime, who are from that scouting grounds and from the amateur circuit? Have they really made leaps and bounds that we've been looking for from the academy ecosystem, or are they still just a run-of-the-mill amateur that is yet to overcome that hill and that challenge of being a top prospect?
Yeah, we've seen mixed results with a lot of these amateur players coming into the LCS. So, yeah, at times you are hopeful. At times you do get a little bit sad. I know I got excited when I saw Tactical get caught up. I know I got
Yep.
sad when I saw Saligo's performance. But we are now watching the next generation of players, the Rose Thorns, the Unbees, the Prismals. It is a fun thing to see in the academy, and I'm so glad that Golden Guardians have invested so much into this young talent to try and bring them up.
Yeah, and I think the best part of me is that I can really limit test like 3 different ecosystems at once in just this single game. I can test how well the XLCS veterans are, I can limit test how well the actual academy prospects are, and I can sort of make a little bit of a theory craft on how well amateur is currently going into those tier 1 tournaments that will be popping up so shortly. But with that, we have to address this game currently on how everyone will sort of be interacting with one another, because for this game, these two teams do also share a pretty similar champion pool in almost every single role.
Yeah, sharing those champion pools, and it makes it for a very, very competitive draft when we get to it. I mean, just looking into some of those champion pools and some of the picks that we have, there's a lot of flexibility in this, and there's honestly, it's kind of a champ ocean when you look at these two, especially players like Prismal. But yeah, there's a lot of overlap coming in for both of these squads.
Yeah, like Renekton, Gangplank, shared both by Haunter and Tally. Rosethorn, the Nidalee is still fairly highly contested, though we probably won't be seeing the Udyr either, as it has been permabanned today. And the only real discrepancy in champion pool similarities is that mid lane in Sword and Yunbi. Sword has yet to really expand that pool just yet to become an ocean, where Yonbi is just thriving with different picks, assassins, fighters, utilities, control mages as well. So for them, this is where you might save that final pick for the mid lane here for TSM, who is on red side. Well, Golden Guardians, they've had some hiccups here and there in the draft. Let's see if they've been learning their lessons since they've been acting in the amateur scene.
Okay, a little bit of an off note, but every time I see Seraphine ban, the way it goes through her face looks like she's missing teeth, and it very much disturbs me, Koda.
Oh gosh, I'm seeing it too. Oh no. I'm gonna hold that away. Let's look at what their final ban is gonna be. It is gonna be Hecarim. So of cutting down the jungle pool just by a little bit, as well as Senna and Zaya, who were taken away. So Prismal and Cody Sun will have a fairly small pool to pick from as well. But the Talia, something that we haven't seen yet today, which did get nerfed in patch 11.3, is first picked for Golden Guardians.
Talia gets locked in. It did receive a little bit of nerfs, as you just said, but it can still be a menace, and it's really just about clear speed at the end of the day. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the rift, TSM, Haunter, and Babip looking to lock in the Renekton. Of course, not going to Babip is the Kaisa, but Cody's son, but still, we keep getting that trend. We keep getting the early engagers with a lot of aggression coming out red side, and now GG Academy looking to grab Misfortune.
Well, and with this, I feel like TSM kind of wins out in these first 2 rotations, because they get the comfort pick of Kaisa, who didn't really receive any big nerfs or changes in 11.3, is still the strong powerhouse. And of course, you get the blind pick Renekton against the Talia, so you deny that tower diving capability for Golden Guardians Academy. With the closeout coming in from Misfortune and Rel, you do have the capability to challenge the 2v2, and if Chime is even able to pilot Rel just as efficiently as Ayla was earlier on today, I'm pretty confident with how well these team fights will be going for Golden Guardians. But the one big crutch that I've had with GG Academy throughout the entirety of Spring Split is early lane priority. And when you have a Nidalee and a Kaisa and a Renekton locked in on the other side, you have so many worrying trends that you have to address going into the second ban phase.
So many trends indeed. We keep seeing these 3 champions picked together all the time.
Yeah.
Into the second part of the phase, though, mid laner is getting banned away. It's going to be Azir and Twisted Fate, so a lot of eyes are going to be towards that mid lane and leaving whatever champions are left up. I mean, we talked about the Aurelia earlier. Ryze is something that we've seen Yunbi play, and when it comes to Sword, his pool has all kinds of utility and control mages, as well as anything aggressive, such as Lucian.
Yeah. You could possibly see a Gangplank picked up by Tally here in this top side if you're going with more like traditional focuses, saying, all right, let's go with familiarity, to be fair. But I want to see a tank. I want to see something that can actually have that turret diving capability and sort of fight fire with TSM Academy, saying, okay, you can do a Nidalee Renekton. Well, let's do a Volibear Talia and see if we can do some really spicy things on the top side, where Alistair, you know, it's pretty cliche with the Kaisa situation. So for myself, it's very much onto these final two picks. What is the tank top, or what is really the fighter top going to be for Golden Guardians? And what is your blind pick mid going to be? Orianna is taken off the board, so you cannot challenge that. Syndra is still available, sure, but I'd have to say you might have to deny either a Twisted Fate pickup or a Victor away from Sword, where Yunbi has that luxury to just pick those up on his own.
Yeah, and instead Yunbi is going to go over for the Victor.
Okay.
That will be picked up. Another control mage, you still get a similar purpose out of it. One more pick coming over TSM Academy, and counter goes over to them.
I want to see Twisted Fate here. I think Twisted Fate might be good just with the pickup, just because you get that additional roaming and some pressure. You also get some nice wave control and side wave management. Okay, we get Gangplank. All right. This might just be a Renekton mid lane against Victor, which would be very worrying for me because yes, you deny away that counter pickup with the Gnar that Golden Guardians had picked up, but it's this weird state where Renekton doesn't really get a winning lane in either situation. Like, you force him out of the Gnar matchup to go into a Victor, where if he does jump onto Victor, he's just going to get gravity field. And he's just going to sit in that space where he has to get out of that gravity field as fast as possible. And if he doesn't, Yunbi's just going to obliterate him in those early stages. So it is very curious to see how Sword and Yunbi will be interacting. Does the picks play into the individual playstyles that these two mid laners have? Of course, but it is not just an individual game. This is very much going to be a team focus between Golden Guardians and TSM to approach this early stage.
And you got to keep in mind that both Chime and Rosethorn are very, very active when it comes to the map, especially Chime. Now that Chime's on the rail, I mean, you get that Renekton behind, there isn't a long lane to really run from. It's getting caught out and it's having some pain. So I do have a lot of fears for Sword in the mid lane. And
True.
It's a rough draft to see coming out.
Yeah, it's tough because you try and think of like the other priorities that you could get. I would think of like Yone. Like, Yone would be a totally fine pick for Sword, and it gives you that AD pressure that you want. He does have some trading capability with Victor. I suppose just the comfort pick and how they drafted does leave a good amount of questions on how that laning phase will go, but it shows and it really tells that they are prioritizing Haunter to have that winning matchup, to say, you are the veteran voice, we're going to give you that trust, we are trusting you now. I just mentioned earlier in sort of like the presentation for this matchup that they might have that miscommunication with their veteran voices. If they prove that they don't, and they have that trust within Haunter and Cody Sun to carry this game, it could really turn the lineups and sort of the entire spring split situation with these tiebreakers on its head.
Tiebreakers, ties for days. Now on the Rift, Golden Guardian versus TSM, and lots of expectations here. Personally, when I've seen TSM play, it tends to be a little bit more team-oriented than anything else. They tend to get kills as a team. Meanwhile, on the side of Golden Guardians, I see the roaming, I see the map pressure that comes out from getting lanes like Chime free. I mean, Chime himself, I was talking about him earlier, but 82% kill participation on Golden Guardians roster. So he does do a lot to be able to get Golden Guardians into these games.
For sure. Nice little late invasion saying hello. We're just going to try and get this bottom priority online and see if we can get Rosethorn ahead. This is something that they've been kind of learning in the amateur scene, that if you do these late invades, it's a moderate risk, but also a pretty high reward if you do get to pay it all off. And the fact that they're still staying around is just delaying these jungles just for such a long time. And I'd have to say, Rosethorn kind of gets the better end of this stick because he will be able to keep up with some clear speed. Sure, it is patch 11.3. He's not as powerful with that clear, with the changes that came in to Talia, but at this moment, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, it's just going to be a slow start for both junglers as their lanes just go back to neutrality. Nothing much to see here other than a very, very friendly little handshake of an early game.
Well, the one thing that did come out of that is the Bip situation, where he actually starts Wolves instead of his buff. So it gives Rosethorn this capability to say, all right, I can go ahead and do a buff to buff clear, get those as much as possible, and then possibly look for an early advantage onto a top or bottom side. And just like that, he's already got his eyes set on the level 2 cheese against Haunter.
Ooh, he's going after Haunter. Here come the autos, able to get some of that burn damage in. Haunter being very patient with his flash. Seismic Shove comes out, though, and that's going to be an easy first blood picked up by Rosethorn.
And what a great adaptation here from Rosethorn. This aggression that is needed in the early stages to determine this game have just been coming with flying colors here with Rosethorn. And Prismal and Chime just absolutely starving Babip out of his own jungle, though it does come at a consequence. Prismal is in a little bit of a choke.
Yeah, rough spot for Prismal as he tries to run away from the Croc. The spears are going in, and so are the autos, but Sword is starting to run low. Chime is trying to finish the job. He will be able to get the kill, but it's going to be a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of TSM this time.
Okay, a little weird change of pace here for TSM. I respect the fact that they're trying to starve out Babip as much as possible and slow him down, because look what's happening on the top side of the map. We'll have to put a hold on that as we just sort of see a little bit of the shenanigans that Golden Guardians is dishing out. They're saying, hey, we learned this in amateur, just try and fight fire with fire.
Yeah, kill getting picked up. I mean, it looked fun. It looked like a great way to go, but I mean, Prismal, MF, there's not much mobility there. If you're caught, you're caught.
But it's mostly just to try and stall out and give Rosethorn just so much priority over Babip here, because Babip, level 3, has only gotten his blue buff. He's gotten triple buffed as far as I can claim it with this stage, because he's not gotten his top side of the map. He has to confine himself back to this scuttle here. He's going to lose that top end as well. And with all of this happening, the 2 kills that did go over to TSM went to Cody's and to Babip. So it's something where it is not a terrible sorting of events here, because the gold does still just go back into Babip's pockets that they've kind of been trying to starve out. And with Fizzy now having that luxury to roam around and be that bouncer and be that defender here for Babip while he tries to look for some counter jungling, it turns Golden Guardian's whole initiative of saying, let's be early aggressive, let's try and find these advantages and really try and starve out the opposing jungler. It kind of nullifies it. Like, now it's something where we do go back to a neutral state. Sure, he gets triple buff, but no harm, no foul when it comes to it, and they still have bottom priority with them still hovering over this lower quadrant.
So not overall a bad situation to be in. Taking a look over at the top side, and overall the laning of the game, the state of the game, Haunter's been farming it up quite well over towards his top side, and Telly can't really do too much to deal with him when it comes to dealing. I mean, Gangplank gets a lot of harassment by just having the Q, and of course he can use those barrels to wave clear as much as he can, but this is the early game that Haunter really does need when you're on the Gangplank, because you can start getting bullied as early as 1 item.
Yeah. And even then, just sort of how the gold is sort of evened out right now, it doesn't really matter too much that Tally is getting bullied here and there. Like, yes, he's losing some CS, or he's taking a few parlays in the back. It's all fine and dandy as it is. Once he gets to level 6, then you're going to have to be very cautious for Haunter because of how oppressive Rosethorn will be looking to that top side. Rosethorn will be trying to set his eyes up there. He knows that your flash is down, and he can always come back up for a rinse and repeat gank to get some more priority back into that top end. But while that is all happening, TSM has the capability to look to the bottom side and say, you know what? If we leave Haunter on this weak side, we need to find something somewhere else on the other side of the map. Mountain Dragon is up. If we get this early prio going, it helps out this awkward laning phase that not only Sword is dealing with, but it also amplifies the advantages that both Haunter and Cody Sun have been able to win for themselves.
Yeah, I kind of forgot there was a Renekton in the mid lane after watching the top and bot for too long. But Rosethorn starting to head down here towards the spot lane. Fizzy and Cody Sun are both just hiding in that bush. Chime's going to walk right into it, and the damage is massive. Chime has to back off immediately, but Fizzy is getting punished for it. The Cannon Barrage will dissuade Golden Guardians from going any further, saving Fizzy's life.
Ooh, close call there for both Golden Guardians and TSM on this bottom side, but now we see Babip just hitting that reset. Is going to be sprinting down to this bottom quadrant. And Rosethorn just making sure they can get that vision prio and possibly look to just at least challenge Babip at this dragon. They're not going to be going for it per se because of how these resets and these lane priorities are currently dished out for Golden Guardians. They don't have the tools either to try and push farther out, but they do have the confidence to at least go for this dragon. Where on the other side, TSM, they have a lot of tools gone. Sure, Babip is in the area, but Fizzy had to reset. Sword doesn't have prio in mid, and this will just be as good as gone for TSM as GG picks up that first drake.
First drake of the game will be Mountain Drake, picked up completely uncontested by Babip in the area, and Chime will be able to spot him out, but some good control coming out of Golden Guardians off of that play over on the bot side, forcing Fizzy to take that recall, and you're starting to see the lane priority start to really add up now in the mid lane. All meanwhile, Bip deep in his jungle, trying to run away. Here comes the Hex Flash over the wall from Fizzy. He's looking at Rosethorn, but Rosethorn will get that speed boost. Fizzy can get nowhere next to him, but the whole point of that was just to get Bip his own jungle back.
Right, and with all that early aggression really just sort of burned a lesson into TSM Academy's mind, saying, look, if we're going to fight for our jungle, we have to have all members available. Sword disconnected from the mid lane to make sure that he had flank priority. So did Fizzy and Cody Sundom to just push out that wave and make sure that they were always able to answer if Bip did get into any sort of trouble. And with that, they neutralized the game just a little bit more, and the fact that this lane is now frozen here in this mid lane, it's favorable for Yunbi because he can just hard push it out. He can prepare vision and prepare priority for this Rift Herald that will be spawning shortly. And again, TSM has to find a win condition here early to try and really make sure that they can get into this mid game with some sort of lead outside of Hanser, who has just been dominating in the top end.
Both junglers towards the mid lane now, but not going to choose to go in for any fights. Rosethorn way too low on mana, but Bip just trying to get priority to enable this Rift Herald to be taken, and the rotation coming out of TSM all meanwhile to really ensure that this is going to be locked down.
All right, loving the rotation coming from both Cody Sun and Fizzy to make sure that Rift Herald is an absolute definite for Bip as he secures this one. Teleport coming in from Tally to just answer the wave crashing into this top side, and Sword going to be catching it. So all of this just to make sure that they can have that early tempo, and that's what we've been looking for here for TSM, to have that matchup. And the fact that they are answering this and Golden Guardians is just sort of falling to the wayside, not finding any proactive plays, they're going to get punished by a potential turret dive, a 4-man dive, with also Hanser having the cannon barrage ready to prime.
Yeah, all showing up, TSM members towards the top side of this map. Meganar is there, and he is really, really far deep in. I'm going to see if Fizzy can be able to handle this, but Tally will be able to back up in time, so no engagement going to go through, no tower dive going to go through, to our dismay, no action going to go through.
Yeah, very unfortunate for us. There was a little bit of a chase down on the bottom side. Hanser decided to TP to the bottom to catch that wave and deny Prismal any additional turret plates, aside from the one that he was able to claim there. That nice little reset, and they might just, they're just going to do Australia lanes and just throw back up Prismal and Chime to answer Cody Sun and Fizzy, and then keep Tally in this constant harassment against Hanser, who he can at least stay neutral with. He will constantly be losing out in farm, though, because of how much range and harassment Hanser will have over a Tally's Gnar with this gangplank. But playing this game for Golden Guardians is just a winning strategy and winning formula for TSM. But if they're able to find this kill onto Hanser, it could just turn back into Golden Guardians' court.
Hiding in the cove, Hanser might not know what's coming up, but it might be the other way. The recall, I'm not sure if it went through. Still waiting for that Fog of War. Yeah, it had to gone through. Yep, it went through. No shenanigans here. Hanser will be safe.
Lucky pirate right there, but nonetheless gets that reset and can just continue to have this cat and mouse game that TSM is throwing out. And when you have these situations of just throwing back and forth, this is just sort of a replay of how Hanser understands he has a gun and Prismal does not. But it's he has a gun. That's my analysis. Forces a flash though, which is pretty nice out of Hanser, which could be crucial, though there's no real objectives up just yet. There will be one in a minute, but hello.
There's a knockback. Just on the Tally. Missile's going to land on the Tally as well, but the cold day in hell, Cody Sun takes that one into a rel into Leah. Getting that established vision over towards the Drake side, because we got 45 seconds until this Infernal Drake is going to spawn, and TSM looking to get some early priority on it. Cody Sun is shoving in the wave, and there is no rel there to defend Prismal if he stays around that turret for too long.
Yep, but we'll be looking for this priority on this dragon. This is what all these members down here for TSM Academy are for. Yes, they can get some turret plates. Yes, they can possibly break open this turret if they get some more damage, but it's just to make sure that they have contention here for this Infernal Dragon. And with now Yunbi starting to rotate to this bottom side, this turret dive is a full set.
Fizzy finds the headbutt, pulverized Bip finds the kill. Going on the Chime now. Another kill goes through to Cody's Son, and TSM set it up textbook. Now they get a Drake all for free, as well as a tower.
And with that full send, with all members available and good to go, they had the tools set and get those pickup kills, winning them that prio. They could go for this Infernal Dragon now. It looks like Babip will be starting it up. And all of this early aggression that Golden Guardians had cooked up is just turning up raw. They don't have any real recipe to try and succeed here in going into the next 15-minute and 20-minute stages for this game. And at this point, you got to think of something. Like, yes, Yunbi is hard scaling. Yes, he's gotten some CS advantage. Yes, he might be able to get to his mythic item faster than Sword. But if you don't do anything with it, if you do not have proactivity to try and find some advantages here or there, if Rosethorn is not able to find these side lane ganks, it's just Golden Guardian sort of allowing TSM to control the macro, control the tempo of the game. And even though I'm really pushing down on how much Golden Guardians is being almost inactive in these few minutes that have happened, TSM hasn't really given them that chance to be proactive, and that is what this oppression of TSM Academy is really showing.
And that's what we're trying to see from Golden Guardians now. They are trying to make the proactive move by setting up the vision over towards that Baron area to be able to get at least some early momentum to set up for Rift Herald. You also have Cody Sun and Fizzy up there, so you definitely want to keep a close eye on where the cow will be roaming to, but it's really just a silver line. This is all they can really find, is just that vision. They're struggling to find a foot.
For this, only 15 minutes in, they could look for a Rift Herald shortly. It's going to be a while until it spawns, and to be fair, with turret plates now down, it might just be something that they just throw to the wayside if it is Golden Guardians that try and contest it. TSM, they have the priority, they have the vision control for it. Like, goodness sake, look at the vision that they have on this top side. They could do another turret dive if they so asked, and take that turret to boot, but they're going to just make a one-for-one trade here. Prisma will take this bottom turret, Cody Sun will take the top, and open up the map a little bit more, and this then really pushes TSM Academy to do this 4-1 split that their composition is built for Haunter to control these side waves, manage them properly, and for the rest of TSM Academy to give as much space as possible. You can see them all migrating to that top side to make sure that they can look for a tower dive, and it just creates such a long distance for the rest of Golden Guardians to run if they try and look for plays.
Looks like New Year's on that side of the jungle. TSM able to really light up with a lot of vision and continue claiming more and more towers, but Rosethorn, meanwhile, going after Haunter, Weaver's Wall. Unfortunately, Haunter's able to get on the other side of it.
I didn't get to see if he threw out an emote at all for that, but, you know, I think he gave a nice thumbs up nonetheless. Haunter has been pretty good on the emote game so far in Academy, but with all of that play, with Rosethorn showing his face in the bottom side of the map, this is just a telltale sign for TSM to say, okay, well, we're going to punish them once more. They're trying to be proactive. We're going to chomp down on that as fast as possible and get this Herald for ourselves. This then gives them that tool to then pressure this mid lane when this dragon does spawn. They can say, you know what, we can create some different priority. We can throw the Herald down into bot with Haunter if we want, and it creates these different objectives that Golden Guardians is forced to answer, and this team fight and this scrappy composition that Golden Guardians has cooked up will never be able to convene together and try and force a 5v5 that they are really needing to get back into this game.
And with the vision TSM are putting, Fizzy is really looking out there to roam and catch out any stragglers he can really find. The Rift Herald is going to go down in the mid lane now. They're going to get a good chunk onto that tower, but, you know, plates are long gone, so no gold going to be cashed in, but they do get that turret critically low. They rotate over towards Drake. Still got 1:35 before the Cloud Drake spawns. Now Fizzy lighting up the jungle, walking around while Golden Guardians watch very closely, waiting for someone to walk into the trap push, but no one is taking the bait.
I feel they could have held on to the Herald a little bit longer, TSM Academy, but nonetheless, they just readdress onto this lane, and they could look for a dive here if anyone stays too long, with how many tools have been exhausted from them.
Yeah, right away throwing down the cannon barrage to get Golden Guardians off of that tower and to ensure it gets secured, and that will open up the rift more for TSM. They'll be able to get deeper vision at a critical time, 1 minute until Drake spawns.
Like you said, critical time too. This is where Golden Guardians, they need to reset, and they need to get wards back up and running. They need to find some kind of flank objective or flank warding for themselves. They have the control ward in sort of that elbow brush right next to blue buff there on the lower quadrants, but that's it. They need some extra vision in the river for those flanks, just in case a Bip or Sword looks for a counter engagement, and Same goes for TSM. They already have the advantage. They've got that warding on lock. They have the trap set up as well if they need to look for it, and they're just playing to their heart's content. Throw Haunter to this bottom side of the map. If anyone tries to challenge them, well, you take Dragon or you take mid. And Golden Guardians is just playing TSM's game here, and there's nothing that they have in the gas tank to try and fight back.
TSM are just all over the red side jungle of Golden Guardians. And the vision, like, I just love the vision that TSM are doing. I keep talking about it, but every time they go towards the side of the map, they really, really just light it up and try and set up plays for Busy.
These are the games you just love to see in as like a support staff or as a coach here for TSM, or even as a fan. It's something where it's like, this is pretty much PvE. They are playing a game, they're going by the rulebook, and there's no hiccups. Yes, there was the early aggression that happened for Golden Guardians, but nothing came of it. The Monster has completely neutralized that one deficit that he had with the first blood going over to Rosethorn. Aside from that, nothing else has really happened for Golden Guardians. Like, they haven't found a kill for almost 15 minutes, if not 16 minutes, and they lose Dragon. And now you have to look at what's on the top end. Baron is available. You think of how quickly TSM Academy can actually take this Baron with a Nidalee, with an Renekton, and a Kai'Sa. It's pretty quick, but it is still at that point where they don't have the tools just yet to really just clean house of objectives. They need to still have that vision priority, and then they have to make sure that Yunbi and Chime and Prismal do not get to conglomerate and create that just circle and a circle of death that they can throw in. And Baron, it just sort of is a telltale sign for that. So for them, just keep making this pick comp, keep going by the rule book, play your game with this 4-1 split, because there's nothing stopping TSM Academy now.
Yeah, they've been doing an absolutely splendid job. I talked a lot about Chime and how he was my personal player to watch on the Rel, but TSM reacted to Chime and just pretty much punished him anytime he would get too close, and they are the ones making engagements onto the Rel. So TSM, they have a game plan, they have a battle plan, and they're executing it pristinely in this game. And now they're looking to execute Tally as well. Busy wants to jump in, but Tally will get over the wall in time.
Oh, did you just see how much of the rift is just covered in darkness for Golden Guardians when they made that vision call there? Like the spectator just switched the vision over, and it was just absolute darkness. Like there's nothing that they can see in this game, and there's like one pixel or two in their top jungle that they might be able to try and challenge, but everything else, it comes to question of how much information did TSM Academy gather from just the few games that Golden Guardians have played in Amateur? Like, what exploits were they able to pick up, not only from those, but also from previous Academy games as well? Because this is the kind of Golden Guardians that I'm sort of familiar with in the first 2 weeks of the Academy Spring Split, where they draft a good team fight composition that can scale efficiently, but their lane priority struggles. Now, on paper, their lane priority is good. Like, the Gnar definitely does win some of that priority against the Renekton, sure, but the counter pick from Gangplank sort of nullifies that. You definitely have Yunbi with the lane priority in mid lane no matter what, but then bottom lane, there's not much priority because of how that early few moments went, where Cody Son was able to pick up a kill, Prismal lost his summoners and his life to boot, and that just throws all of that early lane contention to the wayside. And it goes back to saying, well, don't worry, we scale, but you're never given the chance to actually scale to the win condition that you are looking for as a team. And that's where Golden Guardians, it just feels completely absent from this game. And TSM Academy is just completely running away with it and saying, all right, well, Baron's up, come and fight us.
Golden Guardians have been playing it like a standard game of solo queue. There's no real coordination going on, and they're just passive with these lanes. TSM control the map now, and they're going to continue holding control over it as they march down the mid lane, establish vision everywhere they see fit, and set up for a potential Baron bait. They don't even need to outright go for the Baron. It's the bait more than anything else.
Well, honestly, my solo queue games are a little bit more favorable than this with win conditions, because I can just hit my Blitz GG app and just be like, all right, my Nidalee's a one trick, play around that, got it. So it's just things like this where Golden Guardians is just at a loss for everything, and TSM hits.
Now Fizzy with the triple knockup, but here comes the bullet time, tearing away at the health bars of TSM, but Sword will be able to stay alive. But Bip takes a chunk of damage coming in from Yunbi. Yunbi on the chase will throw out the ultimate, still trying to wail away at Fizzy, but the heal comes in just at the right time to keep him alive, and TSM are gonna lose no one with their health bars low, and they still claim Rosethorn. All meanwhile, here it is, it's Baron time.
Yep, come fight us, Golden Guardians. You have no chance of trying to challenge us. Your ultimates are exhausted. Sure, you may have Meganar, but Meganar's about to expire here. He's got Meganar, he's exhausted, and you don't have Rosethorn either. This Baron's as good as gone, and Sword presses the advantage.
Sword looking to jump in, but his health bar started to get critically low, has to bail, but Cody's son will not! And TSM wiped the floor with Golden Guardians in that Baron fight.
I'd have to argue that was an unofficial ace there. Rosethorn had just come up a fraction before Prismal and Tally had fallen. And with that, TSM has now firmly taken this game into control. It's been a slow choke out here from TSM. They've been doing a game of death by 1,000 cuts, but they finally drove in the dagger and twisted it, taking a massive gold advantage, massive tempo play, and with this Baron buff, they're going to hit Soul Point and possibly even break open the defenses of Golden Guardians. So let's just look at how this went. There were no resources for Golden Guardians to try and contest for this, so they should have just left and gotten some lane priority, or at least some vision congestion onto the Dragon. But because they challenged, Sword saw the weakness, went straight in, drove a wedge into Golden Guardians, and TSM just was able to run wild, pick after pick. And with this, Golden Guardians is now left to their own devices and the own consequences of their poor choices.
Did you see how much damage Cody's son did in that fight? He was autoing away, absolutely beastly.
And this is the trust that we were looking for as well, out of the veteran voices of TSM. This is something where Haunter, yes, he gave away first blood to Rosethorn early on. Might give one over away here as well, but let's see if he can get out without a kill.
Oh, he's trying to get out. He's walking straight into his cannon barrage, but that is into the wandering arms of Chime. Rosethorn grabs the kill, but look at the top side. TSM
And
respond by pushing in both mid and top lanes.
Yeah, but this is, again, it's something with this trust in the veteran voices saying, look, I've exhausted all of them, pressure the advantage in the other locations, and it's an easy method to execute with TSM knocking down the middle inhibitor and the top turret inhib as well. And they're looking for maybe more, with Fizzy finding that engagement, but Golden Guardians just a hair, a fraction away from dragging Fizzy back into that fight. TSM gets out with not even a scar to bear.
I mean, you would love to grab him. It would be a 4v5, probably one of the best chances Golden Guardians would have.
Yeah.
And it's their last advantage, really, as they try and defend against this siege. TSM are just going to stay there and continue pushing in those Baron waves. They're not going to find too much, but the teleport is coming out in the mid lane. Haunter's going to show up and continue up with this siege and pressure.
Oh my goodness, Golden Guardians went from a 3-4K deficit to 10,000 in almost a blink of an eye with this Baron power play, and this is just how oppressive TSM Academy is playing right now. There's no real way Golden Guardians can sort of weave into this fight. Haunter is now on that back end as a supportive unit, waiting for that cannon barrage to pop up, because once that cannon barrage is online, they can dive, they can look for Rosethorn, they can look for Yunbi, and they'll have the tankiness to hold out and the damage to obliterate. And here we go with this engagement.
Oh, the knockup comes in, but he's not going to find the pulverize. Instead, finds the bullet time. 100 health remains. Fizzy on the run, but will get the heal. Slam against the wall from the wall up, but Cody's son eats Telly for breakfast. Rosethorn has to flash away. Even though the health bars are low for TSM, it's still going to be a win for them, and they're going to walk away taking another inhibitor of Golden Guardians.
And not a man falls for TSM Academy. They get to take whatever they want out of the jungle, but it's already been obliterated by TSM Babip, and the darkness is looming over Golden Guardians today. No way they can actually look to step out into their jungle with any sure confidence to try and look for their jungle camps. Rosethorn is able to find those chickens, thankfully for him. He's hunting down Babip, but all he will find is just tracks.
It's a brutal game for Golden Guardians. Trying to survive this. You talked about the 10k difference. We're 27 minutes into this game, and we're 2 minutes away from that dragon that can grant TSM soul and pretty much the final nail in the coffin to be able to close this out.
Yeah, the wave control for Golden Guardians is good. Like, there's Victor and you've got Prismal with Misfortune, but you need Misfortune to pop the bullet time to really sort of nullify any hard pushing coming in from these super minions that will be crashing in. But you have 2 lanes you need to answer, and if with those 2 members gone, the bottom lane is not looking defensible or defendable for Golden Guardians. And with this engagement, the fact that Fizzy lived just shows how far behind Golden Guardians is in their economy, that they do not have the stats online, and the fact that Cody's son, Sword, Babip can all just run straight into the damage of Golden Guardians and get out totally fine is just showing how oppressive TSM's mid-game performance was.
Now TSM in the bot lane, clearing out these waves. There's one more inhibitor that remains before you get those super double creeps. Hanser standing in, tries to get some barrels. The poke game is starting to show for TSM as they throw in shot after shot after shot to try and set up this siege, having members spread out, making sure you can't really grab on much, but Chime will grab on the Cody's son. He's done it all by himself, and he will fall by himself. Thorn goes golden, but he's in the field of Sword. A Sword will take him down. Tally will follow, and this is disaster. Golden Guardians are losing everything. Yunbi tries to turn it around, and he's able to claim 3. There's 4 going down, and there's 1 remaining on both sides. Somehow Golden Guardians, they've I don't know what they've done, but they have a defense going.
They had their 6th man, and that Hail Mary play that Chime looked for at least paid off in a net neutrality. And because of that, Golden Guardians gets to hang on for a little bit longer. However, they will still lose a lot of economy that they could have used to get back into this game. The jungle will be gone. The Dragon Soul will still be gone because Babip can solo this, and Rosethorn has to answer those super waves that will be crashing into the mid and top side of the map. So with all of that, Golden Guardians has just bought themselves time. They have not given themselves a way back into this game. It's just a few extra minutes to make sure that their will is written, that all of their condolences and their acquired materials are going to the right ancestors, because at this moment, TSM will be coming back upset, and they will be looking to take that Nexus for their own.
TSM Angie, they're going to run it right down. Here comes Fizzy. He's ready for a knockup. Nope, not going to go for it just yet. But Tally is trying to build up that Mega Gnar, and he's chasing forward with it. Mega Gnar bar is now activated, and all TSM got to do is wait it out if there's no engage coming out of Golden Guardians. But Hex Flash over the wall. Chime wants to find more. He's only going to find a spear as he's forced to walk out with nothing to show for it.
They do have Baron priority, at least, so TSM would have to fight into them if they wanted that objective, but they say, hey, you have an open inhibitor here in the mid lane. We could just parade down there and take that for themselves, so Golden Guardians figures out they have to fight for this.
Oh! Rosethorn just destroyed! And now Sword looking for the 4 members left of Golden Guardians. The missile not going to land. Hanser over the wall with the barrels. Tries to block the escape path, and that's what Babip is doing as he's making those spears rain through onto Yunbi. Half of his health gone in an instant. Bullet time goes out. Sword able to get some health with that Q, but he's not long for this world as Tally's able to grab him and take him down. It's Golden Guardians with a forward momentum, but Babip lands another spear, almost takes down Yunbi. Yunbi in no man's land now as Fizzy finds the knockup onto Chime. Chime will go down. Tally is low. Yunbi is low, and Prismal is starting to run low as well. Babip lands the spear. Double kill to Cody's son, and he's gonna make that the triple in just a second as Tally runs for his life, flashes away, but your base is soon to be forfeit. Hanser with another barrel. TSM march in and look to take down these inhibitors as well as the base.
The inhibitors come up just to delay the timers a little bit longer here for TSM to try and take this game, but also with the Talia wall, they have to reroute. Cody's son's left on his own, but he is just so big, there's no way for them to try and challenge this.
That is terrifying when that much damage comes from the Acathian Rain, but now teleporting inside. First Nexus Tower goes down. Second Nexus Tower goes down. At this point, it's all about making it official. TSM take it to Golden Guardians.
Ending with a 12,000 gold lead for, honestly, one of the most definitive games we've had today. Yes, we had a very oppressive Dignitas game. It started all off that they just absolutely steamrolled with, but this was a different kind of oppression and dominance. This was something that they were able to just out macro, out tempo, and just blot out the vision of Golden Guardians to where they had never any confidence or tempo to try and look for their win conditions. And at this point, you got to give a huge shout out to Haunter on that gangplank, who, yes, he gave one kill over at the very beginning, but besides that, he constantly dragged resources over to him, allowing the rest of TSM Academy to look for those advantages, take the neutral objectives, push out their vision, and constantly find pick after pick. And because of all that pressure that Haunter was able to relieve from the rest of his team, Sword, Cody Sun, and Bibib all did immaculate work in their own rights to close out this game and give us a definitive statement that TSM does have that trust. They have the confidence within their teammates, and they're looking to really break open this Academy split.
And it was a great game to come out of TSM altogether, because they've been having a hard time getting the record in the standings. And this looked like a team who knew what they wanted, who knew what their win conditions were, that knew how to play their draft. Because ultimately they would come in anytime they would want an objective, anytime they would want control, they would get it and establish that vision first before making plays, setting up Haunter to be able to do a split push without worrying that anyone's going to flank him. It was teamwork. It was beautiful teamwork to come out of team solo mid.
Yeah, and as much as you could give that early aggression argument and the fact that Prismal and Chime, they had a very poor showing in the bottom lane. You had Prismal giving over his summoners as well as his life in the early stages, which gave a lot of priority to Cody Sun and Fizzy. Those mistakes, though in themselves you can punish Golden Guardians for individually, it's TSM Academy that you have to congratulate for exploiting it to the maximum output, that they got all of that pressure, always had priority. Cody Sun doing an immaculate job on Kaisa, and with that, being able to use those small weaknesses and those small hiccups to really overthrow this game to where Golden Guardians never really ever had a chance to come back.
Yeah, I mean, even when Golden Guardians were able to get some kills and win some team fights, it felt more like the mistake of Team Solo Mid than it was the proactive play coming out of Golden Guardians. It was just pure aggression, and TSM, their hubris got the better of them here and there, but it wasn't enough to really stop their momentum from taking over this game. We are going to throw it over to a short break. When we return, we'll get into our player interview with one of the members of TSM. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCS Academy Spring Split. TSM versus Golden Guardians. TSM, they look so strong in that game. That was some beautiful play. Their record doesn't even look like the same team that just showed up today.
Oh, definitely not. And it's something where they had a completely different sign of life with how well they were able to play the macro, control the vision and tempo around it. And not to mention some crazy flex picks as well, which I left with some questionable exits going into the game, but they gave me a really good argument to define why they did. And also the fact that they had so much trust in their veteran voices of Hanser and Cody's son. And to be honest, I think there's no other person better to ask and answer those questions than the youngest prodigy of TSM Academy, Sword.
Sword, hello. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Congratulations on your win.
Oh, hello. Thank you.
First thing I want to ask you is, playing on an org such as TSM, especially in their academy team, you're playing along veterans such as Hanser and Cody's son. What's the environment being able to get experience from players such as those?
It's pretty nice to have veterans on my team because I'm pretty new to the game, so it takes a while to learn to the pro stage. So having them just makes it easier.
And then we saw in the draft you guys did a Renekton flex in the mid lane. I want to know what your thoughts were on that one.
It's because I'm a pretty huge Joinby fan, so I play a lot of Renekton mid. So and our top laner Kevin plays a lot of Renekton, so we decided to make it a flex. So it worked out pretty well.
Oh, crazy stuff, and it turned out for the better, but it's been a rough start to get here for TSM. You guys had only picked up 2 wins previously. Is this now, with this very definitive result against Golden Guardians Academy, the turning of a new chapter for you, or do you still have a couple hiccups within the team that you guys need to work out?
I think the score doesn't really reflect our performance. I think we're going to be really strong. This week's practice, we've been working pretty hard, and I'm excited to play the next few games.
Yeah, that's I like the blind confidence for you with the fact that the results do not reflect the performance that you guys have. And speaking of confidence, you guys are facing off against Dignitas Academy tomorrow, who also had a very strong performance today with the Nidalee pickup from Acadian. How's the team morale and your own confidence heading into tomorrow?
I mean, we're playing against Immortals tomorrow, but
excuse me, Immortals, yes.
Yeah, I think against Immortals and Dignitas, we have a pretty good chance of winning. We just have to play like scrims, play confident.
Yeah. True. Well, awesome. Thank you again for joining us, and well played today.
Thank you.
All right, that was a great interview to come out from Sword. Definitely getting some insight on what it's like to be in the TSM roster, but that's all set aside now. Again, congratulations once more to TSM for that victory, but we got to start setting up for that final game of the day. It's going to be Cloud9 versus EG. We will be right back with more LCS Academy.